you ever see that movie, There's Something About Mary? Do you remember that? She was this beautiful doctor. I think she was some sort of surgeon or something. And all of these men in her life were scheming and plotting and lying just to try to get with her, right? Remember that? And Ben Stiller, I think, played the role of Ted. And Ted was trying to be a nice guy, but he was also still trying to lie and scheme to get with Mary. He wanted to be with Mary, and I think he had been with her in his youth, or she was a date for a dance, right? Remember that whole scene where he zipped up his beans and franks, and he didn't really get his chance with Mary, so it kind of always stuck. Anyway, why are narcissists drawn to you? It could very well be for this reason. It could be something about Mary syndrome, right? You're really great and they're not, so they have to lie and scheme and pretend to be something that they're not in order to get you, right? But of course, they're not getting you legitimately, because chances are, if you knew the truth, maybe you would say no thank you. But they don't give you that option, right? Because they feel entitled to be with you no matter what, because they want to, right? So I see this happen a lot. I see it happen on both sides, by the way, with men and with women, that they'll try to put on this facade, lie about their lives, exaggerate their accomplishments, on and on and on, because they want to get you, right? They are drawn to you. Why are they drawn to you? Sometimes it's just obvious, right? Maybe you're really attractive. Maybe you have your shit together. Maybe you're educated. Maybe you're really personable and friendly. Maybe you have a lot of friends. Maybe you have good connections. Maybe you have money. Maybe you live a nice lifestyle. Maybe you're talented. Maybe you sing and dance and, I don't know, speak 10 languages. Who knows? Whatever it is, when they see you, when they look at you, they look at their disowned self. So they're not even seeing you as a person. You're a projection of the ideal, okay? And the ideal is what they think in their heads they could be if only life wasn't so awful to them. If only they had had more opportunities. If only they had had blah, 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 right? Fill in the blanks. More money, a better family, better looks, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. They want those things, and they feel like they can get them through osmosis by being next to you. And even if they don't think that, maybe they're not that naive, they might think that, well, it's okay. I have this trophy wife or husband next to me, and they're all the things. So if they chose me, that means that I'm great and I'm worthy and I'm okay with that. So, there's another angle there. But by and large, narcissists, especially the coverts, right? Narcissists are drawn to you because you represent something that they're not. Their idealized yet disowned self. The self that they could never be, because they're harboring so much anger, resentment, sour grapes, victimhood, you name it. And they don't like to work hard. I don't know if you've noticed that about a covert narcissist. They don't like to sweat. They don't like to put the hours in. They want to be great at something without doing the work, okay? And so as soon as they have to put some work in, they're like, yeah, no thanks. I'll just date somebody who's good at that, or I'll marry somebody who's good at that. Now, a lot of times with an overt narcissist, they're drawn to you because maybe they think you'll represent them well, but they want to be top dog in the relationship. They want to be head cheese, and they're going to expect you to take somewhat of a backseat to them. And we see this a lot in the medical profession. We see this a lot in the religious profession, right, of being a pastor of a church, right? How often is the wife right up there with the husband? Not very often. She's usually back here, right? She's not in the limelight as much. So, we see this a lot with politicians, right? They want to marry the good, faithful partner, but they don't, they want to be front and center. They don't necessarily want their spouse to be front and center. But with the covert narcissist, it's really different. It's really them wanting to somehow own you and be you at the same time. And when they realize that that doesn't work, by the way, they get very disenchanted. They get disenchanted with you, and then they'll try to poke at you and bring you down, cut you down to size. They're going to get jealous of you after the euphoria wears off, after the, what they think is love, after that wears off, and then they're stuck comparing themselves to you. They're going to be really disappointed and disenchanted, and then you're going to pay the price for it. But, if you ask yourself, why are narcissists drawn to me? Another reason is because you probably have some codependence. You probably know how to swoop in there and make somebody feel really good about themselves, help them save the day, whatever it is. And you might feel like that stand-in parental figure that they didn't have. Maybe they had a negative parental figure. Maybe they had an absentee parental figure. And you might just come in and feel like that parental figure, except eventually they're going to resent it, right? Because you're not your own person. Remember, with narcissists, you're a projection. So it's like you're taking part in their movie. You're playing a role, following a script. And eventually, they're not going to like the role you're playing, no matter what. But anytime you try to really be yourself and shine, when you try to shine, they're not going to like it. So they're going to cut you down. They might ice you out. They might stonewall, ignore you. They might go have an emotional affair or another type of affair, behind your back. They're going to do the things because they're not comfortable with the fact that you're here and they're here. Even if you worked really, really hard to be here, they're still going to begrudge you. And if you ever sing your own praises, if you ever really feel confident about yourself, they'll accuse you of being full of yourself. They'll say, oh, well, listen to you. Who says that? Well, you might say it because you really believe in yourself and you might really feel confident. You might say, hey, I look really nice today, or I really wear this shirt well, or, I'm really proud of my accomplishment. Whatever it is, a covert narcissist thinks all those things in their head sometimes about themselves. So when they're not self-deprecating, they're self-aggrandizing, right? But if you ever self-aggrandize, even in just a little bit, they're going to really be turned off by that. They're going to really, it's like it exacerbates all their inadequacies when you praise yourself for something. It's really strange. But because they're always so focused on themselves, they can't just let you have your moment, right? And they can't reinforce it. They can't say, yeah, great job at that. You really should celebrate yourself. You're not going to hear a covert narcissist say those things very often, because immediately when you talk about yourself, they're thinking about themselves. And they might be, thinking about, oh, well, yeah, no, I'm not doing this and this and this. Or in their head, sometimes they're writing another script of, them fulfilling some big dream of theirs, right? So you're talking about your success, and in their head, they're reliving some imagined success of their own, and they're not even paying attention. But sometimes, they might do that for a little bit, and then they might come back down to earth and go, oh yeah, that's not reality. And the reality of it is my spouse or my partner is killing it over here, and I feel inadequate. The other thing covert narcissists will really think about when you're killing it or when you're succeeding is, oh gosh, he or she's going to leave me for somebody else, right? And you'll hear a lot of jealousy happen with this kind of thing. Let's say you go to a party and somebody's congratulating you, and later on that covert narcissist is going to accuse you of flirting or accuse you of wanting too much attention. Maybe your shirt was just a little too low cut, or maybe your skirt was just a little high, or maybe you smiled a little too much, or maybe you flipped your hair. Who knows? But they're going to hone in on everything. And it all goes back to their lack of a true sense of self, their inadequacies, and their inherent shame, the shame that could fill up a room, right? It's thick. So, if you don't have any of that, they're going to be really drawn to you. And they might be drawn to you too if, like I said, if you are just a warm, loving person, if you're kind, if you're giving, if you're compassionate. If you're in a helping profession, you have to really watch your back, because we tend to ooze that, right? I had a friend one time years ago say, one of the things I like most about you is that I always feel so good about myself when I'm around you. You always just say things that make me feel good about myself. And I used to think that was the best compliment. And then I look back now and I go, oh my gosh, that's bordering on a character flaw for me. Because why am I? And it was just so effortless, right? But that's not something that you necessarily want to do out in the world when you're single and people are trying to date you. You know, you got to really guard yourself. And I had to learn that the hard way. You know, walking into a room and wanting to just make everyone feel wonderful sounds great in theory, and in practice, maybe it's not so wise. Maybe we have to be just a little more discerning. But sometimes, you know, we have that naive innocence about the world. Oh, the world's a wonderful place and everybody's beautiful in some way, you know, yada yada. And we have to be careful of that, because that energy right there, that precious energy, can attract sometimes the most malignant narcissist. And I don't really talk very much on this channel about malignant narcissism because it's a little bit rare. I talk about a lot of times your everyday narcissist, and I feel like coverts are kind of like your everyday bargain variety narcissist. Now, they can be violent at times, they can be a bit sociopathic at times, but you know, anytime you really encounter a malignant narcissist, my only true suggestion is to run, because, you know, they're dangerous. They're dangerous. But by and large, why narcissists are drawn to you, you probably have unresolved past trauma where they can see a chink in your armor, they see a weakness, and they're going to hone in, or you're just a really, really kind, wonderful person who makes people feel good about themselves, or you've got your act together and people want what you have. If you are talented, skilled, wonderful, attractive, successful, you are a target for people wanting to use and abuse you. So just remember that. Hey guys, if this was helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. As always, hug yourself from me. And by the way, if you find yourself repeatedly attracting narcissist, do me a favor. Check out my book. It's called Uncaged, Trauma Recovery Using Facet Integration Technique. Most likely you are struggling still with unresolved trauma. This is a book and a workbook in one that's really going to help you dig through that trauma and process it and integrate it so that you can be strong enough to not attract those narcissists and to not only repel them, but to see through them quickly so that you don't waste your time. So guys, as always, hug yourself from me, and we'll see you next time.